This was the 1980s, the era of the travel agent. But if you were savvy and in the know, you knew about Easy Saver. Accessed via a network, it was a system that asked a series of questions and allowed you to book your own travel. 100 years ago, travel for leisure was the privilege of the wealthy and elite. The Roaring Twenties really opened people's eyes to the romance and excitement of travel. Railroads in the US were expanded in World War II, and travelers were encouraged to venture out of state. It was the first time middle-class families could afford one of the most crucial travel luxuries, a car. And regional airlines welcomed their first passengers. Through the decades, planes got more comfortable, flight cabins bigger, and seats sometimes resemble living room furniture. By the 60s, airports had expanded globally, and with it, the rise of mass tourism. Travel agents were also in high demand, primarily used by middle and upper classes who had a lot of disposable income. Thomas Cook was often heralded as the first to establish the package tour holiday. And in the post-World War II years when travel boomed, others like Sky Tours, Horizon Holidays, and Clarksons popped up. They did the things that travelers couldn't or wouldn't know to do at the time, like securing flights, accommodations, transport, and entertainment.
Commercial travel or leisure travel had only really started in the late 60s. And back then it was very much package tourism. So it was Europeans going on holiday to the south of Spain. You know, you might buy a flight, get a hotel, sit on a beach, go back home. Certainly that was the European model. There was no sense of going somewhere very foreign, connecting with the community.
While the 60s and 70s saw friendlier skies become mainstream, jet setting only became commonplace by the 80s as the long-haul mode of transportation. Still, in this pre-internet Neanderthal day of information underload, how did holidaymakers plan trips without the services of the high street travel agent?
Basically, it's by word of mouth, asking people how to go to those places.
So I used to go to the library in the travel guidebook section. You had to write down and read everything because you had to know like which station would take you to another station. Like you couldn't just look it up on your phone or the internet.
By the early noughties, online travel agencies like Expedia and Booking.com made securing a local pad as easy as a few clicks on a website. And Airbnb subsequently allowed travelers to stay in bona fide local homes, windmills, wagons, caravans, tree houses, and even castles. But how did the hardcore travelers hack it before all that?
Come on, no, reservations didn't exist. You just turned up and found something. And information, you know, what time does the flight go? Where do I get a visa? Where do I stay? All that stuff, you just pick up your phone and you look at it and you know instantly. Well, none of that was available. I mean, I made 1 or 2 overseas phone calls at that time and it was hopeless. If you wanted to contact someone, you wrote them a letter and then, you know, you waited a month for the answer.
There has also been a fundamental shift in the way people traveled. There was a time in the 90s when the focus was largely on seeing those big bucket list sites like the Eiffel Tower in Paris or Rome's Trevi Fountains, rather than a desire to really get under the skin of a destination. So what was backpacking like in a world before Google Maps and smartphones?
Long time ago when I traveled without the internet, yes, I bring maps.
It was so stressful opening up the map in a city because it told everyone that you were a tourist.
So, missing it already?
I still prefer the map. I can feel that I'm a really traveler, and of course to lessen my gadget time because my gadgets are only for taking photos or like taking some videos.
You're on the bus somewhere from A to B. You know, you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no internet coverage. When I get to B, where am I going to stay? What's the history of the place? What do I need to see? The guidebook. The guidebook still works. when life gets back to what it should have been, I will continue to use them. If I'm still alive.
Still traveling.
Still traveling, yeah.